I have 3 short poems that are entirely unconnected unless I think they are. A mind like mine comes with its own pitfalls, and I can nary build a bridge fast enough to notice that my feet have been on fire this entire time. A mind like mine has its own loopholes through which any strings attached simply vanish into a nether realm reserved for the unrestful. A mind like mine has to tend to a Cheshire cat with a black coat that spells misfortune to the dyslexic and superstition to the unworried. Depression is a relative that repeats themselves, incorrigible and unaware that there is a world that doesn't center them, but yet fully aware that it doesn't notice them. A mind like mine is unlike yours in its fogginess when you examine it from the outside, but on the inside it's much bigger and jealously guarded. So what was your question again? 2 questions. At which point does the reliving and retelling of your own trauma become so familiar and predictable that you're no longer perturbed by it, but utterly bored instead? At which point do the frothing accusations of fragility sound like a projection to you, not because you're too hardened, but precisely because you're too soft for them to be applicable? At which point does a fickle, fleeting, fluid thing like identity feel less like a fact, but more like an open source piece of fiction meant to protect the guilty from guilt and the innocent from innocence? Where do you go when every community makes you feel like you only have one foot in, and more importantly, where do you stand? What do you fight for when every value, every virtue has lost its sheen and reveals the vanity underneath? And where is the point of no return when human beings become demystified, and would it even be worth it to turn back? Three, a letter. To whomever this concerns, you may have been told to check on your strong friends. Well, this particular strong friend appears to be pronounced dead. Day, whichever, time, whenever, words you sowed yielded no return. But these scales don't show the weight on these shoulders, because heavy is the head that wears these traumas, or should I say war? I mean, are they even mine anymore? So I'm counting steps away from drama, hoping legs attached to pounds of lead will feel lighter soon. Because too often catharsis was conflated with happiness and hardship mistaken for fervor. So quiet is sought frequently away from people who find unrest and solitude and perceive silence as a cacophony of their own voices. And while I empathize, I cannot advise going down this road of anxious avoidance. The love they refuse to offer, I now extend to self untainted. I used to regard my body as a race car and yet hardly ever bothered with maintenance. Perhaps ironically, I lost my patience with my therapist. I said, I question myself every day and you're just a surrogate. And the thesaurus for my emotions is worthless. ADD to that, the fact I'm easily distracted. Is that why you keep repeating the message? See, I've memorized it verbatim in order to forget and forgive myself for self-sabotaging my progress. So who do you think you are to show me kindness when I only need reminders? And yes, I contradict myself constantly. Maybe now you understand. Why I used to regard my love as flawed until I saw her still enslaved to her past scars. So imagine my surprise when I looked in the mirror and found myself shackled to a clock going backwards. For her to call me simple while a backhanded compliment at best or an insult at worst really just means I've become unraveled after being wound way too tight. Maybe just let me collapse in your arms next time instead of judging my state of mind as being in disarray. When this array is just my structure, rows and columns, ones and zeros, indices and keys. It's not that the door is closed, it's just I've never been home. So for the next time you want to check on your strong friends, I'm away. I will respond to your message whenever, whatever passes for a convenience these days actually crosses my path. Until then, be you ever so well, and take care. Yours truly, a strong friend. P.S. Send help.